still in
Okay, Google.
condition. For 20
Activate
minutes, crews
watch
battled to
devices.
stabilise her before rushing her to Mackay Bates Hospital.
Okay, activating the watch devices.
So it's gone from watching television back to the Chromecast Ultra. Okay, Google. Activate Watch Apple TV.
Sure, activating the Watch Apple TV.
So now it's gone to the Apple TV on the HDMI settings. Simple move to fire up the Apple TV. Alright. Okay, Google. Hey Google. Activate Watch Chrome.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Okay, Google. Activate Watch Chromecast Audio.
Sorry, I'm not sure how to help.
Okay, Google. Activate Watch Chromecast Audio.
Okay, activating the Watch Chromecast audio.
So now it's switched to the Chromecast Audio, which is just one of the HDMI inputs. It's actually an optical input into the receiver. So nothing shows up on the screen because basically I always unplug the Chromecast Audio. Okay, Google. Activate white.
Okay, activating the white.
So now the LEDs behind the television set have switched to white. Okay, Google. Activate fade.
Okay, activating the fade.
Okay, so another infrared signal switched it back to basically a transitioning LED mode. Okay, Google. Activate plasma off.
Sure, activating the plasma off.
So there you see, using the Blackbean, which is a simple little black dome, it sends infrared signals to an IR receiver system that is stuck on the side of the television. And that sort of then switches on the receiver's controls. All the remotes and the volumes are controlled by CAC to the television remote. And if you're sort of sitting on the couch, you can basically just come and switch it on. Now there is another step where I've got a Wemo plug which can power up the whole system, and that can be done remotely. But at this stage I've yet to see whether 4G will allow me to remotely switch the television and change its settings and volume up and volume down. Okay, so that's just a simple little one. Again, I'll put some details down below for you to sort of follow up on the bits and pieces. But it's really quite a simple system. There's $59 Australian for the Google Mini. It's $30 Australian for the Blackbean, which is the little device, and probably about $40 for the infrared system. Now you don't really need infrared system if you've actually got all the devices in visible line of sight of the actual Blackbean. It can do it straight from there. But because mine are in the cabinet under the television, I have to sort of have a way of getting that. I've also had to screen off the infrared on the TV, because if that's not screened off, it gets conflicting signals and it gets confused as to what it's to do. Also on the right hand side I've got a little Sonoff that does 433 megahertz, the other kind of signals that most other devices run off. At the moment that's a bit sketchy, so I might look sometime in the future of using a Broadcom, which is where the Blackbean comes from, and get their dual system which does both. But at this stage I'm still tinkering with the Sonoff device that can do, you know, radio frequency stuff, which can go through up into the bedroom and switch the light off there. But that light upstairs system is about the only one it seems to be able to handle at the moment. It sort of loses the plot. And I have about 3 different RF lighting systems in this room alone. and it also offers power switching as well, because I have an energy savior. That's that little white switch which you probably can't see, but that kills everything in the room. It kills all the power points. And yeah, it's not a hard system to set up. If you've got the Chromecast Ultra, you can sort of set up a basic one as well. The only thing it really frustrated me with is it couldn't do the television controls, and it couldn't switched. It could only switch back to the Ultra really and turn the television on and off. So it didn't have enough control, and I looked for something simpler that could do all this. And you only need the two apps, which is the IHC app and also the Broadlink app, which sort of does all the sort of recording of the infrared signals from the various devices. And it's just building one on top of the other until you've got what you've got, and it's very simple. It's a far more simpler system and more flexible than the Logitech, because you can, well, you can do it on both really. You can put both systems on one remote screen, but it's really quite different the way it works, and the recordable programmable buttons are so simple that you can capture basically any sort of sequence of infrared commands and turn it into a stream that works off the Google Mini. I can't think of anything else to say at this stage, apart from the fact that I'm very happy with it. I do know that a month or so ago, Google in Australia lost the plot completely, and all the Google devices seemed to sort of go offline and wouldn't respond. I do know this system, if it gets its knickers in a twist, it will move off the right HDMI input, and then you have to try and reset it. And one of the quickest ways to reset it is just to use the Google Minis versus the addition of the Ultra's connections to reset everything back to the right spot.
I don't understand.
There it is, it's waking up and complaining. But once you've sort of reset it back with that, then you can just go through a series of basic commands, all beginning with the word activate. Sometimes you don't even need the activate. Sometimes it'll just pick up on certain words in the command string, and it'll just be happy to do what you want. But I find it quite useful. It's quite handy. I've got my little daughter who was also able to use it. It wasn't sort of voice specific. It was just command specific. So that was handy as well. It didn't go to any particular voice account. It just worked with whoever gave it the commands. So in that way, its wife acceptance factor is reasonably high. In addition, this Google Mini can also power a Chromecast in the kitchen, which will fire up another telly. And so that'll be another aspect that you can sort of broaden this out to various bits and pieces. So long as you have CEC, Chromecast Ultra plugged into something, and the minis around the house, you can actually sort of set them off to work with any television basically, or to work with any streaming service too. The only one I don't think it works with is Amazon, because they're natural enemies at the moment. Also Apple TV, Apple and Google don't sort of like each other much, and so they haven't sort of allowed each other into their controls. The other way you can possibly go is through Google Home and Apple Home services. The Apple Home ones require the newer version of the Apple TV. I have the 3, you'd need the 4, and I've yet to explore down that pathway because I don't have one of those. Okay, so that's about enough talk now. I'll leave that as is, and see you next time.